Welcome to Mantra 108, where we're working our way through a 21-day mantra practice that will help us to heal difficult relationships, that will help us to bring new perspective to difficult relationships, and will help us to heal these relationships on a place. Good morning, 𝐀𝐮𝐦. Hi, Martha. Help us to heal these relationships in a place that precedes and transcends our current embodiment or any embodiment, because it heals these relationships at the soul level, at the level of divine consciousness. So yesterday and the day before, I talked about ahimsa, doing no harm, non-violence, the first of the yamas. And I want to talk about another one of the yamas today. Well, first of all, I talked about non-violence because if we are in the business of healing relationships, I believe that it's important for us to do some actions also. Good morning, Bianca. Good morning, Kim. I believe it's also important for us to do actions that inspire ourselves and those who are in relationship with us to have a stronger, better relationship. And doing no violence, ahimsa, is certainly one of those. Today I want to talk about asteya. Asteya is non-stealing. And so how does that factor into a relationship issue? Well, we steal from others in a lot of different ways, and we steal from ourselves as well in a lot of different ways. And so actually I want to read a little bit from Deborah's book again. So this first story that she tells about asteya is interesting. First of all, asteya, or non-stealing, she says, calls us to live, excuse me, to live with integrity and reciprocity. How can we live with integrity in our relationships? And how can we bring a reciprocal spirit to our relationships, giving as much as we're receiving, perhaps giving more than we're receiving? So she starts out with an interesting story about a bride who is at the altar, ready to be married to her groom. And she has just learned that the night just before the wedding started, she learned that the night before, the groom slept with the maid of honor. So now here they are at the altar, and the officiant is taking them through the vows. And he comes to the part where he says, is there anyone who has any objections to this marriage? And the bride speaks these words. She says, yes, I have an objection. I can't in good faith marry a man who would steal from our future. Steal from our future together with his actions of last night. And then with that, the bride left the altar, left the church, left the groom standing with his indiscretion. So Deborah says, like the bride in this story, asteya, or non-stealing, calls us to live with integrity and reciprocity. If we're living in fears and lies, our dissatisfaction with others and our lives, with others' lives and our lives, lead us to look outward with a tendency to steal what is not rightfully ours. We steal from others, we steal from the earth, we steal from the future, and we steal from ourselves. So actually, when we're stealing from the earth, we are stealing from the future and stealing from the future of our children and our grandchildren, and certainly stealing from ourselves. We steal from our own opportunity to grow ourselves into the person who has a right to have the life they want. Our outward focus leads us to compare ourselves to others and to send our energy into their lives in unhealthy ways. When we compare ourselves to others, we find ourselves lacking, which makes us feel somehow cheated, or we find ourselves superior, which leaves us feeling a little arrogant. So all of these things are things that we can think about when we think about asteya. Stealing from others, sometimes we can steal from others in very subtle ways. If someone comes to us to tell us a story, they're excited about a trip they're taking, and instead of really listening and hearing what they're saying and sharing in their excitement, we may jump ahead to tell them about a wonderful trip we're going to take. So this steals a little something from them. When someone comes and shares a sadness or a grief with us, instead of just being with them and sitting with them and listening deeply to them, we might jump ahead to a story of our grief. And this is all a little fumbling. You know, we're humans and we fumble and we bumble and we don't know quite how to do things, but it's important that we fine-tune ourselves a little bit more and help ourselves learn how to better listen, how to better be with, how to better sit and honor the space that we're in with our friendships, with our friends. Another way that we dishonor others is, and steal from them, this idea of asteya, is when we kind of discard them. You know, maybe they're trying to tell us something, but we're so busy. We don't try to be with them. We don't acknowledge that our friend needs us to be with them in this moment, not to fix them, not to tell them our stories, but to just be with them. And when we're not being with them, we're stealing from them. This is asteya. And so we can ask ourselves, when we spend time with other people, not just our close friends, but with anyone, when we spend time with them, do they feel uplifted by us? Or do they feel like something has been taken from them? So I think these are all things that we can think about when we're thinking about this idea of asteya and how it relates to friendship and to honoring other people and honoring ourselves in relationship with one another. So I think all this is good to think about when we're working with this mantra, this powerful mantra of relationship, friendship, Mitra, the universal friendship, name for Surya, the sun. When we think about this and we think about transcending all of these things that might keep us in a discordant place, a disharmonious place with our relationships, we also have to think about not just doing our mantra practice, but really creating a practice of bringing this reciprocity to our relationships, bringing this integrity to our relationships. So just wanted to talk a little bit about that this morning before we begin our mantra, but now we're ready. So I'm going to turn up our tempura, our drone, the electronic drone. What would we do without technology? Without this, I'd be bringing my giant tempura over and playing it while we're chanting, but this is a far easier way for the morning. So please close your eyes. Take your mala beads. Take some nice full inhales and exhales. Just coming to that space of your practice. Press through your crown to make your spine a little taller. Maybe loosen your shoulders a bit here with some rolling of the shoulders. And then soften your skin. Soften your muscles. Bring that softness to your heart space. And in that heart space this morning, let's just place the idea of integrity. The idea of what it is that integrity and reciprocity look like in our relationships. And maybe we can carry that into the day with us. And taking an inhale to begin. Auṁ Śrīm Mitraya Namaḥ. 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 Aum 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 Śrīm Mitraya. Aum Śrīm Mitraya Namaḥ. 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 Auṁ Śrīm Mitrāya 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 Namaḥ. Auṁ Auṁ Śrīm Mitrāya Namaḥ. 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 Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Sit for just a moment, feeling the vibration of your sound. this brings us to the end of day 5 of our 21-day mantra practice. So I leave you once again with this thought of just contemplating maybe throughout the day the idea of integrity and reciprocity in our relationships. Integrity with ourselves, integrity that we bring to our relationships, and the reciprocity that we bring to our relationships, so that we are not sinking into stealing, but living in a place of asteya rather than steya, stealing. We don't want to be stealing from our relationships, stealing from one another, stealing from ourselves. We want to live with the practice of asteya, non-stealing. All right, thank you for being with me today. I'll see you tomorrow morning. Love to everybody.